Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. So I was rewatching some anime, refresh my mind so I'd be able to talk about it in a video. And I went and rewatched No Game No Life 0. I had hated No Game No Life, but for some reason I went and decided to go watch the prequel movie. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And it surprisingly wasn't shit. I was kind of surprised by it. I actually scored it somewhat decently on AniList. I had decided to rewatch it just to see if something was up that day, and for some reason I decided to be way too generous to this movie, or if I just had such a hateful bias against the original show and I actually discredited a actual excellent movie. And well, I'll be talking about the movie today. That rewatch actually helped promote this from being in a part of a video to actually getting its own video, because by far this is my #1 movie to make me feel conflicted. Spoilers for the movie ahead, but if you want to go and watch it, go ahead. It was released after season 1 of No Game No Life, but it's a prequel set thousands of years before the events of the show. In my opinion, you can watch this movie without watching the first season and enjoy it. I actually wish I watched this movie before I watched the original series, but I'll get back to that later. To give some general explanation of the story, we are set thousands of years before the events of the original series, and the world is very different. They still have all the races from No Game No Life, but they are at war, and these very powerful races are destroying each other and the Earth. They are fighting for the Senaster, a magical item that will present itself to the most powerful being and give them total authority over the world. Humans, who have no abilities and are of course struggling, are on the verge of extinction, and our main character, tired of the constant death and despair, comes up with a plan to act within the shadows and pin everyone against each other, letting them destroy themselves as he secures the Senaster for himself and creates a better world for humans. In a way, he succeeds, and this story acts as an explanation as to why the rules of the world are the way they are, as seen within No Game No Life. This is the synopsis of the show in a worldly level, but that's not really what this movie is about. This story is a romantic drama at heart, and the characters are what really makes this movie. There are two main characters of importance. Our main human character, who will lead in the events of the series, being Riku. They have a big community of humans hidden in caves away from the dangerous world, and Riku has been leading parties out into the world to scavenge for resources and information, and anything that helps them survive in this apocalyptic world. This movie starts during one of these adventures, and we see how dangerous the world is, with one of Riku's men having to sacrifice himself for the two others in the party to escape. It's really good setup for his character. He has to deliver the news to the dead man's daughter, and then later breaks down, destroying his living quarters, showing how this has been all too common, and he's tired of living this way. That brings us to the next character, Shui, which Riku finds after a solo scavenging mission of a elvish ruin. Shui is an ex machina, or more simply, a race of androids that are highly dangerous, especially with their hive mind that connects them all together. But Shui is a special case. Her mission is to understand humans and report back. She says that the miracles that humans have performed must be due to one of the special things that they have: their heart. Shui is completely disconnected from the rest of her kind, and when finding Riku, she becomes interested in his heart. This starts out in not a very clever way. If you know anything about No Game No Life, you already know it's sus as shit, and this movie is no different. Shui is a lolly character, so in physique she looks extremely lolly-like, as well as her voice and speech mannerisms feel somewhat childish. These characters are supposed to resemble and look like the main characters of No Game No Life, that being Sora and Shiro. The voice actors are the same, they are designed to look somewhat the same, and overall, they were designed to feel the same. I'm not going to make a complaint about these characters being unoriginal, but it makes it harder for me to separate these characters from one another. This is fine, assuming you liked the original characters, but as I've stated thus far, I'm not a fan of the original show or their characters. But thankfully, their differences help a whole lot. While they are supposed to give a similar feel, it luckily fails. First, Riku is a character very easy to sympathize with. His life has been tragic. He has seen so many of his friends, people he lives with, die. And as a leader, he feels responsible for every one of their deaths. Comparably, Sora is just a degenerate gamer with a little sister fetish that is undefeatable with games of wit. He is simply gross and unvaluable, making him hard to watch or relate with. And I don't need to actually explain the difference in character between Shui and Shiro, because Shiro lacks any form of character to begin with. Shiro doesn't have any particular ambitions in No Game No Life and is just tied around Sora's waist as she simply helps in the execution of Sora's plans. She doesn't have any of her own ambitions or goals, and Shui does. While she initially says her goal is to procreate, which makes me groan, once you get into the movie further, you know her goal is to just understand the whys of human emotion, which is a very solid and cool goal you have seen in many great films. No Game No Life simply lacks any form of substance, even if you take out the ecchi from it. Shiro lacks any reason to do anything herself, and Sora is a completely invincible character that is hard to relate with at all. But if you remove the ecchi from the movie, you would actually have an amazing plot that you wouldn't blink an eye at all. But this does have plenty of ecchi to it. It's really unavoidable. It isn't just a beach episode you can skip over. If you're patient, there is some reward. There are honest to God great scenes within the movie, and while I was disappointed on how they handled the character introduction, there's amazing development after that. The first scene that kept me in was one after Riku takes Shui home. After Shui goes on about her wanting to understand the human heart, Riku gets fed up and lashes out and says how much he hates her and every powerful group that is responsible for the deaths of all of his friends. It's a moment that helps Shui understand why they hurt. It gives her a moment where she empathizes in a robotic sort of way. She gives Riku the ability to kill her in that moment, saying if that's what it takes to understand, then so be it. This is very important in the scheme of it all, as it contrasts with her final moments in the movie. She starts with complete disregard and does not refer to herself as being alive, but by the end, when it seems she is doomed to die, she pleads for her life. They don't give any concrete answer and don't say bluntly what they define the human heart as, but the way they put it is very profound. With her final Hail Mary, she connects with the head of the Ex Machina to say that she's found the answer, and the head fights with her saying that he can't understand anything of it, with her saying, you may not have been able to understand, but it is what it is. It's a brilliant scene, as even though she can't explain it, you can truly understand that in that moment, she knows what the human heart is, and she now mirrors and acts human. She doesn't look at things like an objective and doesn't rationalize the numbers. She simply goes on her desires and says things she feels. This is honestly one of the more subtle and profound what is the meaning of love stories I have seen. Shui's death scene is beautiful and cinematic. In those moments, you forget those weird things before and really enjoy this movie. While that is probably the crowning jewel of this movie, everything past it towards the end of the story is great. It'd be hard not to include Rika's plea to the gods. There are zero jokes, it's a powerful conclusion to all the struggles, and his monologue is great at getting across how much he is lost and how, if anything, he wants the work of everyone and himself to have meant something. This movie has some really high points. Past the marriage, there are no sus moments. And after that, all the extremely good stuff at the tail end of the show has all the room to be great moments. There are even amazing developments up to these moments, though those are scattered around with a bunch of ecchi stuff surrounding them. And that is why this is the movie I feel most conflicted on. Should you watch this? Well, it's up to you. I usually suggest anything I talk fondly about, but in this video I also discussed why you would take some caution. Anyways, thank you for at least watching this video. Hope you guys liked and enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.